What's going on, my PT peeps, my Walking Dead family, my fighters, and my Last of Us fans? I'm One Eye Bry, also known as PT. Don't know if I'm winking or blinking, but I'm definitely thinking about Season 1, Episode 3 of The Last of Us TV show on HBO Max, and is it the best zombie apocalypse TV show ever? Spoiler warning, obviously, for the episode and The Last of Us and all things related to The Last of Us series, but is it a great episode? I think so, but is it the best? Only time will tell. Let me know your thoughts. Post your comments below as always. But it starts off with Joel and Ellie by a big riverbed or body of water, and he's making his Zen rock tower. They are 11 miles west of Boston. And I have to say that the show already does a good job of answering questions that we may have. Like, where are they? How far did they get? And Ellie stands up for herself, which is kind of cool to see. They go to a convenience store type of place. We see Mortal Kombat 2. Takes me back to the arcades because, stuff didn't progress there. Also, do you see the lifesaver sign? Is Ellie going to be a lifesaver? Save humanity, save lives. We see that she gets a box of feminine products, and she's really happy about that. And we know that Ellie kills her first, zombie. What do you call them? Parasites? Fungus things, I don't know, runners, walkers, whatever, screamers, stalkers, I don't know, whatever. This thing has some cinder blocks fallen on it, but it's still alive somehow, some way. And I have to say that Joel's got a look of Rick Grimes a little bit with the revolver, the denim shirt, and kind of like a jacket, something Rick would wear. I guess that has to be what you look like in the zombie apocalypse, right? But Joel and Ellie walk down a path. They come across an area, they come across a fallen, destroyed airplane, and Ellie's never been on an airplane, and it's kind of interesting to see. Like, if you were 14 years old in the zombie apocalypse, you didn't do a lot of things. You have lived a very sheltered life. She was never on an airplane. Joe talks about the start of it, the flour, sugar, something. It was in cereals and pancake mix and all that stuff, which again is great. And they talk about more of the origin, more of the stuff we want to know about. In 3 episodes, they're doing a great job so far. I love the dynamic. They're really building the dynamic of these two, that Joel will save Ellie at some point. We see the dead bodies, the skulls and the bones. And it's pretty terrible that Fedra, the military in this universe, just killed people because there wasn't enough room, theoretically, at a QZ, so they just killed them. They weren't sick, they weren't anything, but dead people can't turn or get infected, so they just killed them. And it was a transition of the blouse that the woman was wearing, but also the baby blanket here, and you see the little skull and the bigger skull. So this is the mom and the child that we're going to see the transition of from here to there. So alive to dead in, I'm guessing it's Lincoln, Boston, and that's where Bill is. But you see the timeline again, September 30th, 2003. It jumps around every episode, but I don't feel lost. They do it in a way that feels like I understand. They're putting red X's on doors that they check the buildings, and this is inside Bill's neighborhood. We see Fedra basically being the governing body here of running things and taking survivors with them. And again, Bill watches on through his Panasonic cameras, and Bill is a survivalist, which is kind of cool to really see. This is kind of our first taste of a survivalist in, a zombie apocalypse show. I have to say, The Walking Dead really didn't have that much, really at all. But you see the military takes the survivors away, and you see that they had a mandatory evacuation notice, 8 p.m. on 9/30/2003. And we see that Bill is prepared for this. He's got guns, he's got gear, he's got ammo, he's got books, he's got sulfuric acid. And what is that really used for? I know cleaning off batteries and taking off battery acid, but is there another use for it, right? But Bill walks up. He's actually underneath the basement, if you didn't catch that. He's not in the basement, he's underneath it. So this is the basement, and that's where the Fedra military people were. And you see the case goes up with the stairs, and Bill comes out. And I tried to look at it. It's kind of blurry a little bit, but you see the X on his door, 0A, 3 o'clock, NE, 9:30, I guess, is when it was checked. But you see Bill comes out and everybody's gone. So he has the neighborhood to himself. And it's awesome. It's like he's the last man on earth. And I love that about the zombie apocalypse stories. This is what I want to see, and they covered it very well here. Bill backs up to connect the boat to get more storage out of it, which is pretty cool. You think there'd be more vehicles around, all right? He goes to the Home Depot. It's pretty cool that they used actually the Home Depot. It could have been Lowe's, could have been a generic store, and he's loading up shopping carts, more and more supplies. And again, the whole area is his, so he's probably going to go there every couple days, load up as much as he can, go back. He gets gas at a gas station. He does everything he needs to do. The power goes out, but he goes to the plant, and he knows what he's doing. It's pretty resourceful. He's a pretty smart guy that he connects the Bedford Gas natural gas plant. So he connects the natural gas so he can cook, and it's pretty smart. And he's like, oh, let's get some wine. So he gets some alcohol, he gets food, he gets prepared. It's just smart. It's just cool to see a survivalist here just doing his thing. And it's cool to see this in a zombie apocalypse. We don't always get to see this on shows and in movies on that too, but it feels like a movie. It's an hour and 15 minutes. If it was a little bit longer, it could be considered a zombie apocalypse movie, but he uses his generator and he powers up the house and all things inside, but he has this whole area to himself. He blocks it off, and this is Bill's domain. He sets up, booby traps and flamethrowers and lines and stuff. It's pretty cool to see. He's got a greenhouse, he's got a garden, he's got everything you need to survive, and he actually does. He survives the entire time, and he goes out on his own free will. He's got chickens, so he's got eggs. He's got animals, so he's got a supply of meat. He's got, a little butcher set up there, a little cold storage. He's cooking, and he's set up for a while. He's resourceful. He knows what he's doing. He's basically built for this, right? He's been waiting for this day, this moment. It finally came around. And I'm guessing there's people like this in real life, right? I'm not one of them. Maybe you are. Let me know in the comments on there. But that meal looks great, I have to say. And that's all for him. So as he's eating alone, which is kind of sad, he's all alone, his alarms go off. And he changes the channel from his cameras. And he's got a little show here. So he's got dinner and a movie, or dinner and a show. And he says it never gets old. But here's this zombie, walker, whatever you want to call it. And he hits the line. And boom, gets shot. Luckily, it's in the head. Like, what if it was a smaller zombie or a shorter zombie or a taller zombie? But it takes him out, and he's watching it. He's like, never gets old. And he's safe, and he's not worried at all. And you get to see how he gets in and out. He uses the frequency code thing to open up the security gate, which is pretty awesome. He's built for this stuff on there. I wouldn't know how to do any of this stuff. I'd be trying to put up fencing on there too, but he's got a electronic gates and locks that he can just remote access to let himself in and out. It's pretty amazing. 4 years later. So he's been doing this for 4 years after all that stuff. And you see the flag, "Don't tread on me." And it's basically what I had to look it up. It's like he's ready. Don't mess with him. He's not looking for war, but don't mess with him. Again, he was built for this. Then he meets Frank, who turns out to be his lover, his best friend, his sole survivor, and his husband at the end. It's actually the guy from White Lotus. If you saw season 1 of that, it's the same guy. He's the manager of the White Lotus in Hawaii. But Bill and Frank, you see that, Bill's like, I don't know about this guy, but he kind of likes the companionship, and, they develop something there. And what are the odds that Bill and Frank are both gay? And you see this same bottle here will be used on their last dinner together. But it's a love story that's kind of been written into recent zombie apocalypse stuff. Like, I'm okay with it. I don't care that it's two men, but some people might have been like, enough of this stuff. But again, it's what the writers wanted to do. It easily could have been a man and a woman, or two women, two men, and it was two men, Bill and Frank. And you get to see when Frank plays the piano and he's terrible, and then Bill takes over, and then you start to see the romance there too develop. But it's just a take on the zombie apocalypse as of late. That's what they kind of do in these stories lately. But we see that it's 3 years later, and Bill and Frank are having an argument because Frank evidently was talking to Tess, and they're setting up an agreement to work together to just trade with each other and just there too, and it's 2010. So we get to see the timeline a little bit, and you get to see the Bill and Frank story that you never get to see in the video game, which is kind of a cool adaptation where we get to see stuff. And I had to laugh when he's like, they are Nazis. And Frank's like, well, they are now, but they weren't then. So they talk about the government, who's actually running things, and the government, I guess, of the United States. But then we get to see Joel and Tess meeting with Bill and Frank. So we get to see their interactions, because this is really the only time that we get to see this, because Bill and Frank kill themselves before Joel and Ellie get there. And Joel understands Bill and Tess understands Frank. So it's like they're counterparts of their relationships here. And it's cool to see Tess, even though she died last episode. It's cool to see when they do a flashback type of thing. And, you know, it's always good to see characters that you kind of like, hey, they're back. They're still around for another episode or two. But obviously, these 4 people work out an agreement and an arrangement, and they become friends, and they trade with each other and survive. But 3 years later, we get to see more time jump here, and Bill and Frank set up more precautions and safety measures around the neighborhood. Like Joel said, they're going to come at night. It's going to be a big group, and they're going to try and take what you want. And I had to laugh at Bill. Nick Offerman's running. It's just pretty funny. It's just so like uncoordinated, and they have strawberries, and they're really happy, even though it would take time to plant and to have. I guess Bill didn't check out what Frank was doing. Then the Raiders come. This is the same gun, I'm guessing, that Frank has in his hand that Ellie has at the end of the episode. But the Raiders come, and they do not do anything besides shoot Bill in the gut. But Bill survives clearly, and there's wild turkey right there. But Frank saves Bill, and Bill says to get Joel because Bill thinks he's dying, and Frank can't be alone, and you're not sure if Bill's going to make it. And they do kind of leave you wondering, does Bill die here? Because you see Frank on the porch on the next scene. You see somebody on the porch in a wheelchair, and you're not sure what it is, and a little hesitation there. And then we see Bill and Frank 10 years later, 2023, so the present day timeline. We see that Frank is the painter. Some of these paintings are actually really good. It's good artwork. And you get to see that the yin and the yang, and it looks a lot like the video game character, right? Or am I wrong? Let me know in the comments. But you see that Frank is struggling when he's painting, and these two are much older now. And I don't know what Frank has, like why he's sick, if it's cancer or what. Did they say it in the episode? Did I miss it? Please let me know in the comments. But the next day, Bill's in bed, Frank's in his wheelchair, and Bill's like, come on, you're supposed to be in bed. We're not going to deal with this. We're not going to deal with that. Come on, get in bed. But Frank says, look, this is my last day. I'm going to stay up. It's going to be fine. He has this whole day planned where they're going to do this, they're going to do that. They're going to get married. They have a nice dinner together, the same bottle of wine when they first met. And it's just a nice callback and a nice romance. It doesn't matter that it's 2 men in my book. I don't care. But, you know, it's just something that we get to see more elaboration of these characters. You see the wedding bands, the wedding rings. And it's just a nice moment in what can be a terrible world in the world of The Last of Us. And then Bill and Frank go to bed after they took all the pills. And then they end up dying. You don't see it, but they're dead in the bedroom. Joel and Ellie get to Lincoln. They get to see Bill and Frank's place, even though Bill and Frank are dead at this time, which is different than the video game, which is good. We have differences and, you know, good changes, different changes for sure. But we see the note that was left, and we see that Ellie is reading the note, and she gets to the point where Bill says to take care of Tess, not knowing what happened to her, of course. Joel checks out the truck, and I have to say that I guess this truck was tricked out to run in the zombie apocalypse, because why wouldn't you get another truck, right? You can go to any dealerships around the area. Maybe the budget's not there for HBO, I don't know. But we see that the battery is missing, I'm guessing is what they're showing here. Joel thinks what to do as he slams down the hood, and he goes into the refrigerator, which I'm guessing would keep the batteries longer. And as you see in the fridge, you see the cells of the battery, you see different, you know, stuff. I'm guessing that's what this is here. And then you see a jar that says sulf next to the battery. And I'm guessing that's sulfuric acid. Now, is that to clean off the batteries? Again, let me know what that would be used for. I can look it up, and I'll probably look it up, but I just want to know what your thoughts are on that. Joel asks Ellie to see her arm, to see what the bite looks like, and it looks pretty good, nice and healing up. So Joel's like, look, I guess it's legit, right? So Joel's like, all right, we got the truck. We're going to head out. I got to get some more charge on there. So Joel knows about the secret bunker and all this stuff here. And then we find out that the radio or the songs were playing. He never adjusted the timer. So they would play at the same time. So they came here kind of by accident, I guess. And I guess that's what I got out of that. And as they look around at all the cool things, like, again, this is pretty amazing. This is a great setup by Bill. And Ellie's like, look, can I get a gun? There's a whole wall of them. I'm like, man, I'm taking a gun or two. I mean, come on, right? But she takes toilet paper and she gets her iconic shirt, and they're going to take supplies and then head out, which is kind of cool. They load up the truck that they're probably going to lose probably next episode, I'm guessing, or the episode after that. But we see that he's getting the charger going for the batteries to set it up, so it takes some more time. So as they're setting up the charging the batteries, she feels that they have hot water, so they're going to take a shower. You know, like, that would be probably one of the greatest things, is when you haven't had a shower in a long time, you haven't had a good meal. You know, there's a lot of good things that if you hadn't had in a long time, you savor. And Joel has been stinking, I'm sure. Ellie makes a comment about it, which is kind of what they do. And as Joel is showering, Ellie is messing with the clock, breaks the hand in the clock. And as she's walking around, there's a good shot of the iconic shirt from the video game. Definitely looking more and more like video game Ellie. She finds the gun, and it looks to be the same gun, like I said before, that Frank had. So Ellie takes the gun, and that's hers, which is probably going to save Joel's life, or at some point going to come around to show that she is trustworthy and helpful. But, you know, that remains to be seen. She gets deodorant, which would be another luxury for sure, because they'd be stinking. The zombie apocalypse would stink really bad. And they get in the S10, the Chevy S10, and then they roll out, which is kind of interesting, because it's like, why would they have this crappy truck and not a bigger, better truck? I don't know. Because of the video game? But it makes you wonder about it, right? But Joel knows the codes from the note that was left by Bill, and then they're going to Wyoming. I wasn't sure if it was Montana or North Dakota, but it's Wyoming, where Tommy is, who used to be a Firefly, and I don't know how far they're going to make it in this truck, but here's kind of a scene that they love to do, is the pan away as the truck gets further and further away with the window open. That's probably where Bill and Frank are after they died. But is it the best zombie apocalypse TV show episode? I don't know. It's up there. It's pretty good. And there are some great episodes of The Walking Dead. Regardless if you think this series went downhill or not, there's great episodes in season 4, season 5, season 6. Like episode 609 is one of my favorite. But let me know your thoughts. Post your comments below, guys. Like, share, subscribe. Support the PT channel when you can in any way, shape, or form. Big shout out to my subscribers, my patrons, my members. We can't do it without you guys. There's going to be more Last of Us videos. I believe the first season is 9 episodes. This was episode 3, so we're a third of the way done. And all the episodes have been great so far, but stay safe. Thank you guys. And as always, tell them, Daryl.
Yeah, we love